Noah's Ark.
And
Noah's Ark.
Noah's Ark,
Noah's Ark.
which you'll find out as you go through this. It's the Aqua Noah, and you think it's Noah's Ark. It's talking about the moon in the heaven, the Aqua Noah, talking about the stage of the moon, and this gets perverted to Noah's Ark, which, if you take the symbol
Of an ark.
of the sliver of the moon and you slide it around, now you got a boat. Noah's Ark.
Anybody ever thought about the logistics of the Noah's Ark?
Not really, other than the fact that they keep saying that they found parts of it in Turkey.
Well, I mean, if you look at what supposedly was in the ark,
All the animals,
and how many
2
people,
by 2.
and how many people on
His,
it?
his family.
Seven.
It's just family.
But if you think about the size of the ark, how you gonna
Seven
see?
people take care of
Have
all that need to take
you
care
been to
of.
New York?
Yes,
You ever been to the Historical Museum in New York?
no.
If you ever get a chance to go to New York, go to the Historical Museum, okay? And when you walk through there, the first room you come to is on insects.
This
The
is big as
insect
that.
room is
It's
bigger than the ark. And they only have one of each. And it's bigger than the ark. See, the problem with telling these stories, when you're talking to people who have no ability to reckon what you're saying, but the ark was only so many cubics.
Yeah.
Huh? A cubic is not a yard, it's a foot. It's 18 inches. So if you got 70 cubits, it's not a very big boat. Huh? Now, and what happened, Barbara and I just happened to be in that building on Columbus Day. It was spiritual, because we were witnessing all the things that these white people had literally taken from all these people from around the world, and they had them on display. And they're outside celebrating an event that never happened. Columbus never came to America.
She never did.
But at the time, there was a skirmish at the African-centered high school. A lady friend of mine who, this is how you get in trouble, like you're talking with your sister. When you know part of something, she went over there and started talking yang, and the preachers was after, okay? So when I get back to town, I had the fold out, and I still have it, of that building and what's in it. So I went over and I said, well, okay, look, here's the ark, and here's the room with insects, and the room with insects is bigger than the ark. But they also got saber-tooth tigers, they have whales, they have everything in this building. This building is 4 blocks long. The ark is not 4 blocks long, okay? So, needless to say, the preachers dispersed. It's like, come on, man. You know, it's nice to tell the story when you're talking to somebody that's not paying attention. But I'm listening. I do this at every week in my house. All of my family goes down to Concord, and not one of them come back and tell me what the sermon is 30 minutes later. What did he talk about?
They don't want you to
I
pick
don't
and
know. No, I don't know. Because I do have a friend of mine that goes down there, Ron, and he calls me at 12:30 every Sunday. It's like clockwork. Man, you should have heard him today. I can't even believe it. This gutless wonder. I mean, because I sent him the suggestion to look at the Farrakhan
Oh, you
sermon.
did? I thought it was excellent. I thought it was.
Okay, he was
Excellent.
smoking.
Yeah, he was.
Now, Concord has people that look like
That one I sent you, that where he preached at that church. Oh, we passed
You said
August
that
the
was
3rd.
Huh?
What you just said?
He sent it to the pastor.
I gave it to Lindsay.
Okay, what did you say about the Farrakhan speech? You said it was good?
Oh yeah, I said I said, hey man, this is something you ought to look at, because he has that problem
What he
in the
said?
church. He had it, you know,
He
my
was-
son-in-law
I
is
know.
over the music ministry at Concord. Now this is what he told me. He said they had to build a stage and actually move the musicians around because there was so many ladies sitting in the front seat with no drawers on, flashing them.
At Concord? Oh, no, Farrakhan said that in his speech. Yeah,
No,
that's right.
this happened at Concord.
Oh, at Concord?
There's 7,000 people out there, sweetheart. Do
Well,
you
I
think
went-
they
I
all
went
say?
Sunday, but I went
You go
Sunday.
with the old people. Go to 10 o'clock where
I
the
went to
youngsters
8 o'clock.
come in.
Yeah, I went to 8
Okay?
o'clock Sunday.
Hey, they got. You would think they going to 6902. You got more legs and booty hanging. I mean, them young girls come in there. It's like, dang girl, where
Yeah,
you
I didn't
going?
see that.
Oh, it's
You
outrageous.
missed the court.
It's outrageous.
They
Come in your church looking like that.
That's it.
I was at
That's
Concord
at every
and I just
church.
didn't see that. It wasn't no women
Every
down
church.
front. It was all men.
You go to a buffet after the church is laid out, any restaurant in town, Peachtree,
The one on
cheesecake
63rd.
buffet, you know, because they go to all kinds. You go to any restaurant or buffet after church, and they almost look like whores coming in. Just come from church.
Like what?
Almost look like whores coming in from church. Stuff so tight, so short, everything hanging out. They just come from church, and you just lucky chick eat.
So that's why when Ron called me, he said, "Yeah, Lindsay touched on it for a minute, but then he never, you know, he'll hit it, and then as he says, he hits it and then he quits it."
So why is that guy Norm, your friend, going to church then?
His wife and children go there.
You should have not the word.
Why?
And Ron is like this. Now, Ron, without a doubt, is the most dangerous brother I've ever seen without a weapon. If you're gonna shoot him and you get from me to you better start shooting, because if you don't, you will not win that fight. That's how tough this dude is. But when I met him, he was trying to figure it out. Okay? And I met him with Dr. Derek Brown, who is a guy who has a doctorate in theology that was a Farrakhan student back in the early 90s. He said when I bumped into him and I told him to put that down and pick this up. And so he's been doing this ever since. So he's had a conversion. Okay? So Ron is kind of there. Ron wants to be a minister, but he doesn't know the information to the point that you can't go out here and, I mean, the last thing we need is another pastor that doesn't know anything. We got enough of them already.
Yeah.
So if you can't save people's souls or make a transformation in their life, spare me. And then, you know, because he, you know, knows me, it's like, I'm not going to let you get away with just kind of knowing it. So I told him years ago to read this book. He is still reluctant to do so, but he did read chapter 9 and then call me up.
You started the back of the book like a Japanese.
Okay?
Okay.
But then he couldn't retain what he had read. I mean, so what purpose did he? I mean, this is not reading material, this is studying material.
Yeah, right.
You have to know this because each one of these little pictures has a wealth of information on it that you can go down to the local preacher and go, "Hey dude, how come you got that Egyptian stuff on? That's pagan, man. Take that off. Huh? What you wearing a gown for? Huh? A lot of preachers wear robes, right? They don't realize that in antiquities the gods was female. That's why they got robes on. And they think this is something, you know, holy. And it's the same thing with, I don't know if you noticed this or not. You ever notice that a courtroom in a church is set up the same way?
Yeah.
Huh?
The judge sits up here, sits up.
That's right. And you're the people in the pews.
And they wear the same thing.
And they wear the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They wear a robe.
And that's why we have to become thinkers and questioners of information. You shouldn't take anybody's word for anything, especially something as important as this kind of information, let alone your friend, I got the Bible, that's all I need. That's the dumbest statement I ever heard in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You got one Bible, there's 3,000 of them, you got one. Okay? Now, here's the other part. When I was growing up in Seventh-day Adventist, I was told repeatedly, not one dot or one tittle of God's word do you change. Is that true?
Yes, that's what they say.
Now, and that was because everybody was rolling with King James. Now we got the new revised.
New Revised Standard.
Okay, so what is it?
English, Oxford.
But if it's God's word and it's not supposed to be changed, then what happened?
You can't trust any book that
Be-
says version.
Exactly. And see, people don't even think about that. The book on the outside says it's a version. This is not an original document. How many people do you know that have asked who is King James? We're using his book, but nobody asked who was this guy and what was his agenda.
But even
When
with
I asked that the other day, like so a lot of my friends, I asked them that, and they was like, it's just a version of, he's just an what did they say? He just,
Wasn't it
What was
from the
it?
Reformation?
I forget what they said, but they didn't
Translator.
really, the translator. They was like, he's just a translator. I'm like, how
But
do we
why
know
would
he
he
translated
have,
anything?
why would he have the need to have a translation of something that's supposed to be God's word? Why does he need a version? I give him that. Yeah, we see you translating, no doubt, because I'm holding it.
Right.
Why did you have the need to make this, though? What was wrong with the original that you had to get a version?
So we can understand it in English.
No.
That's what they
If
say.
you understand, at the time of King James, there was a split in the church. The world was run by the Pope. Okay? Now, the English boys was not in on the game. They weren't even really entrenched in the slave game. They come late to the party even in slavery. See, we have to understand this. This starts out as a Portuguese, a Spanish thing, and then the Dutch take it to a brutal level. But even at that, the English aren't in it. So when they decide to get in it, they're having this battle in South America between these two factions of Catholicism. Okay? You have the Eastern Church and the Western Church. Eastern is Greek, Western is Rome. Both of them have popes. See, we don't ever talk about the Greek church, but they got a pope too. Because the people who got the information first were the Greeks. The Romans got it second. Again, you got no history. Okay? The people who actually had firsthand access to the original Egyptian information were the Greeks, and they did not pervert it. It was the Romans that came in and perverted it, which is on page 209 to 211. It says clearly, at the top of 210, well, let's go through 209 first. We got 5 minutes. On 209, the Egyptian 7 powers represent the pole stars of the Lesser Bear. And they talk about how these things go from one to the next. But jump over to 210. The crescent moon equals or represents a bow, which turns into boat. Okay? Okay, the Egyptian was true mythos. See this? I'm down in the deluge in the, okay, now bounce down to Thoth was set in heaven with its promise that the water should not again cover the earth. Okay? This was mythological because we're talking about the deluge is when you move from one zodiac house to the next, that's the deluge. Now we're
So that's
into
when they say the world is coming to an end.
right.
That's because we
You're going from one to the next. Exactly.
So right now we in Pisces.
Yes, we're going into Aquarian age. So, and that's why you have Jesus as the fisherman. You have the fish's head of Dagon as the Pope. You notice that's a fish's mouth, is that hat. All that's around that. But right over here, so we get this. The Egyptian was true mythos and not a false explanation of natural fact as the tale in Hebrew text. That is significant, folks, because that's exactly what happened. They took mythological things that was represented in Egypt and made them historical things in your book.